John Cage, son of an inventor, becomes a musical inventor by his own characterization, and also Schoenberg's. He studies with Henry Cowell and Schoenberg. Schoenberg says to him, "My boy, if you do not have a feeling for harmony, you will find that a wall against which you will continue to bang your head." To which Cage replied, "Well, sir, I guess I'll just dedicate my life to banging my head against the wall." And in a sense he did. Goes up to the Bay Area, meets Lou Harrison. They do percussion music together. Goes further north to the Seattle area, works at the corner school, meets Merce Cunningham. He is married to Xenia at this point. Eventually will divorce her, and Merce becomes his life partner. He becomes really the house musician, the house composer for the Merce Cunningham Dance Company, and that becomes his main gig in life. He starts with, as you heard in First Construction in Metal, with percussion music. Even in that piece, though, we're already seeing an evolution. There was a time when Cage discovered that he was in too small a rehearsal or performance space where there was just simply not room for all his percussive forces. But there was an old piano, and certainly the influence of Henry Cowell inside the piano work. He decides that the best thing to do is stick nuts and bolts and paper or plastic in between the strings of the piano, so that instead of the pure notes of the piano, you get these altered. And if I move this, you can hear even different harmonics produced. So he will have whole charts of where to place these various found objects, giving, in a sense, a whole battery of sounds out of simply the one timbral source of the piano. He also does vocal music during this period, as you will hear in Story, which has certainly a very rhythmicized version of Sprechstimme, and produces a whole body of prepared piano works, including Totem Ancestor. You'll see both, Totem Ancestor, I do have the score, and I also have a couple of others. I've got Imaginary Landscape number 2 here, and Living Room Music, particularly the movement Story with that Once Upon a Time, starting with "Oh, once upon a time, oh, once upon a time." Fantastic. And the Totem Ancestor. There it is. And you might note with these prepared piano pieces that they look like traditional piano notation. The key is the table of preparations at the beginning of each. I gotta admit, I have played and practiced a number of these without the preparations, and I gotta say I like them equally well, prepared or not prepared. In Totem Ancestor, actually very few notes being prepared. In the later work, which is really his magnum prepared piano opus, once again, the composer haunted by the big piano piece, and it is Sonatas and Interludes. 16, not 24, but 16 sonatas, and they're all conceived in the Domenico Scarlatti tradition of a sonata. This is pre-sonata allegro, which is simply a binary piece with the A repeated and the B repeated. So what you will have is really very traditional structures and really quite wonderfully bizarre content. By this point, he is influenced by mathematical structures, but also he talks about each of these pieces being evoking the permanent emotions of Indian music. On the page, this piece really looks like two fragments of a chromatic scale, and once again, forgive me, but I'm going to say that this is in a C tonality. And so we will, that's the whole pitch content there. And same pitch content down below, octave below. And together, coming out remarkably different on the prepared piano.
Once upon a time, time, a once upon a time, a once upon a time, a time, a time, a once upon a time, once upon a time, once upon a time, a once upon a time, a time, once upon a time, upon a time, upon a time, a time, you could go, and you could go, and you could go, and it, and you could go, and it. You could go, and you, and it, and you, and it. You could go, and you could go, and it. You could go, you could go, you could go.
Marvelous little suite for toy piano. We don't have time. Lou Harrison has a great orchestration of it too. So do I. Oh yeah, so late John Cage music. There are three periods: the percussion period, the prepared piano period. And this is oversimplification, but partially from the fact that taking different pianos and doing the exact same preparation, you actually get different sounds. And rather than that bothering John, he said that is totally fine. And by this point, he's also studying Zen Buddhist philosophy, etc., etc. And so he moves into a very free period where he's still actually using rigorous calculations, as you'll see in Water Walk, but the content is even freer. So he characterizes this as indeterminate music. Many people have said chance music, another $9 term, aleatory. I think we've mentioned really Pierre Boulez has picked up on. Pierre Boulez, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, and the other gang at the Darmstadt school welcomed Cage into their midst at one point, but Cage really is his own independent soul. I had the privilege of hearing him speak with partner Merce Cunningham many years later, from the Darmstadt experience, of course, and quite honestly, I was a little bit, this was before I started interviewing professionally, and I was a little bit hesitant even to talk to him one-on-one, because amongst his notorious chance operations was a stunt where he would prepare answers before the questions were even given, so someone might say, "What do you think of the state of contemporary music, Mr. Cage?" And he would respond, "Eggs, bacon, and sausage." That kind of a guy, a musical trickster, the Los Angeles, New York equivalent of the trickster god Loki or Coyote in the American Indian tradition. Many people don't take him seriously, but I think he was a very serious composer, yet so often with a smile on his face, and really as much of a musical philosopher. Of course, we heard the notorious 4 minutes and 33 seconds at the beginning of the class, or at least we heard the first movement either called 30 seconds or 33 seconds. And someone once said to John, "Well, how long did it take to compose that piece?" And he smiled and said, "All my life." At Mills College, they had a John Cage festival years ago, and it was a concert that was 4 hours and 33 minutes. And there were some pieces by other composers, including the fantastic Pauline Oliveros. And I do have 4 minutes and 33 seconds around here somewhere. Fool that I am, I bought the score. It says tacit first movement, tacit second movement, tacit third. And the first movement, like I say, either 30 seconds or 33. So in this Mills College concert, the first performance was 30 minutes or 33 minutes long, and then it was punctuated by performance of 4:33, as it's often called. And so there were 3 performances of 4:33, the proper length of time within this larger time frame. And all 3 sounded remarkably different, because Mills College at different times of day or night is going to produce a different group of random sounds. We did the first movement only at Composers Chamber Orchestra years ago. Lisa Scola-Prosek begged us not to do the whole piece. She said, "Mark, the artist is going to leave." So we did the first movement. Davide Verronta was not terribly, he was playing piano for us, he was not terribly thrilled by doing the piece. And during the performance, oh, I just nailed my glasses doing that. Oh my goodness. All things. Let's see if my glasses survive that.
Inevitably, Mr. Cage, these are nice people, but some of them are going to laugh. Is that all right?
Of course. I consider laughter preferable to tears.
Let me say this, that Mr. Cage has consented to play this composition not as it was written, because a few hours before airtime, a jurisdictional union dispute arose between 2 unions as to who had the jurisdiction of plugging in the 5 radios. It has not been resolved as of right now, and so Mr. Cage has consented to do this, provided I make the announcement that the 2 unions came to a dispute and couldn't settle.
Well, I've decided to, instead of turning them on as I would normally, I will hit the top of each radio instead. That will produce a sound of some kind. Then when I turn them off, I will knock them off the table.
I'm with you, boy. All right, let's see this instrument.
Great, thank you.
That's it. Yes, the title of the composition is what, Mr. Cage?
Water Walk, because it contains water and because I walk during its performance.
That figures, doesn't it? Now, also, 2 things I want you to notice. Over here, Mr. Cage has a tape recording machine, which will provide much of the... Will you touch the machine so we can know where it is? Which will provide much of the background. Also, he works with a stopwatch. The reason he does this is because these sounds are in no sense accidental in their sequence. They each must fall mathematically at a precise point. So he watches his watch as he works. He takes it seriously. I think it's interesting. If you are amused, you may laugh. If you like it, you may buy the recording. John Cage and Water Walk.